walk in and tap a lever, and you want $1,500 for that? And the man looked at the captain and said, but I knew the lever to tap. And that's my approach to medicine. I'm always looking for the lever that is going to make the difference, that if you will correct this, then it will be like a row of dominoes just going down, 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 one after the other, and correcting all of the issues that arose from that problem. So stomach acid and digestion, as you will find out, are a considerable part of a lot of Americans' issues. The next category 3 is has to do with having too much stomach acid, and of course more people are treated for that than is really the case. Most of us don't have too much. We have too much at the wrong time, and that's what's happening. Then category 4 has to do with how your pancreas and your blood sugar is working. Category 5 is liver and gallbladder function. Your liver, of course, is your body's detoxifier, and your gallbladder is the organ that holds the bile that helps you digest and emulsify fats. So if high cholesterol is one of your concerns, then you might want to look at your liver and your gallbladder function rather than taking statin drugs. Then category 6 has to do with hypoglycemia. Lots of us are walking around with blood sugar in the low, getting up in the morning, rushing off without breakfast. And if you will manage your blood sugar, you will absolutely change your life and your experience in your life. Then the next one is hyperglycemia, so high blood sugar. So if you take category 4, category 6, and category 7, and you look at those numbers, if you're running in the 8s, 9s, and 10s in each of those categories, then you need to know that you're a candidate for insulin resistance, developing that, if you're not already in a stage of insulin resistance. Category 8 is hyperadrenal, and I'm going to, let's see here, I've forgotten already how oh well, I'll skip it. Sorry, there we go, back.
And Nell, if you want to go to your form, you can just hit your escape key and then pull up your form.
Thank you. Okay. So here's metabolic assessment form, and now we're on the second page of metabolic assessment form. Category, let's go back. Category 8 has to do with how your cortisol is working. Cortisol is responsible for our waking and sleeping rhythms. It's responsible for all sorts of energy issues, wakes you up in the morning, keeps you awake, gives you energy to do what you want to do with your day, and then it should be low at night so that you can go to sleep, and during your sleep it rises again. We're going to talk at length about cortisol issues that are erratic and how it affects you, but category 8 has to do with having too low cortisol. Category 9 has to do with having too high cortisol. This is a hyper-worried, anxious state. 10 is hypothyroid. Lots of this going on. It's like an epidemic. In fact, both adrenal issues and thyroid issues are epidemic in this country. Category 11 has to do with having too much thyroid, which is oftentimes, well, both of them are oftentimes autoimmune conditions. Then 12 and 13 both have to do with how your pituitary is working. We'll talk about your hypothalamus and your pituitary. Then category 14 and 15 have to do with male issues, prostate and male hormone issues, andropause, and so forth. Category 16 has to do with menstruating females, and 17 is menopausal females. So if you will score those for yourself and follow along, you will learn a lot. Okay. Then on the neurotransmitter assessment form, now this is a newer form for me. I've only been working with it for a couple of years. The metabolic assessment form I've been working with for probably 5 or 6 years. And whereas I prefer to work with blood chemistry, I can actually tell an awful lot about what your situation is just from looking at your subjective scores. And that's true of the neurotransmitter form as well. If you are scoring high or have lots of answers in section A, it has to do with your level of toxicity. And if your liver isn't clearing your toxins out, then it actually affects how your brain is working, not only your energy level and your immune system, but how your brain is working, your memory, your focus, walking into rooms and forgetting what you walked in there for, etc. Section B is the degree to which stress is affecting your brain function, and C1 goes back to those hypoglycemic issues, how that's affecting your thinking and your behavior, and C2, the degree to which insulin resistance is causing you problems. Then 1S evaluates your need for serotonin support, and you have probably all heard of Paxil and Prozac. Those are two SSRIs. That stands for serotonin, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, which all that means is that you're recycling the serotonin that you have in your body. Well, we all know that when we recycle things, they deteriorate. The strength of them, the integrity of the raw materials eventually deteriorate. And so people who have been on SSRIs for a long period of time generally find that they don't help very much. And there are actually ways that you can feed your brain and supplement your brain so as to enhance your production of serotonin. Then Section 2D has to do with dopamine. Dopamine is motivation, getting things done, following through on things, how you feel about yourself. Lots of important functions relate to dopamine in your brain. Then 3G is GABA. And GABA I like to think of sort of as a chill pill. If you're anxious all the time, if you have trouble quieting your brain going to bed, you probably are running low on GABA, and so some of that will be beneficial. And then Section 4ACH evaluates your need for acetylcholine support. Acetylcholine is an amino acid that feeds the brain and keeps all of those neural pathways going so that the neurons can talk to each other. So in my introduction, Sherry mentioned that I practice something called functional medicine. And most of us have had the experience of not feeling well, but once we go to the doctor says, well, pull some blood and take a look at it, and we'll see if there's anything wrong with you. And despite the fact that you may have a list of symptoms that just don't feel like you normally feel, the doctor calls you back, or really what happens more often is the doctor's nurse calls you back a couple of weeks later and says, oh, your blood is just fine, there's nothing really wrong with you. And I don't know about you, but the last time that happened to me, that was really, really frustrating, because I knew that there is something wrong with me, and yet why couldn't my doctor tell me what that was? Well, back in the 90s, there were a group of doctors, medical doctors at the University of Michigan, who noticed that there were some common challenges, and that they were really practicing disease care, not health care, and they wanted to become more proactive. And so they set up they designed a research project where they followed several thousand people over 5 years. They pulled their blood and every 6 months, and then watched their medical history to see what happened. And sure enough, they discovered that they could look back on their blood work and actually predict they could have predicted once they knew what